Life is hard. We often take the path of least resistance rather than pursue our dreams, but this was not the case for Heather Anderson. There is no path of least resistance for the bold, and Heather in fact rejoiced in finding the hardest path, working hard for her dreams, and achieving so many of them. Not just becoming a medical doctor and providing excellent care, taking pride in providing that care to so many patients, saving lives, but in owning her dream home with her brother James, for her expansive garden, which literally qualifies as an orchard, and of course the joy of running, training for marathons. Often the hardest thing in life is taking time for ourselves, and Heather did that as well, finding serenity in nature and long walks and hikes, reveling in it really. Because accomplishing a dream is nothing if we are not present enough to enjoy it. What I think all of us can say is Heather was present and fully enjoyed every moment of her dreams, enjoying them to the fullest. Of course, the best evidence for this, for Heather's triumph in life, lies in the testimonials here, silent or spoken, shared or otherwise, of her love, friendship, and dedication, for the moments Heather shared with us, and for the joy she gave to us. So I want to thank everyone right now for the moments we shared with Heather, and for the joy that each of you gave her. Now her brother James would like to give a quote.
I thought the best way to sum up Heather's love of medicine and working in the medical field as a doctor is with this quote from Hippocrates: "Wherever the art of medicine is loved, there is also a love of humanity." And that sums up Heather's career to the letter. And I wanted to end with that all of you who are peers in the medical community, that you are heroes to this world.
Thank you, James. Dave Miller would like to give some remarks.
Good afternoon. Heather enjoyed challenges: graduate school, medical school, residency, and running. I feel lucky that I was able to share so many memories around running with Heather. It is an understatement that running was a big part of Heather's life, whether it was flying across the country to visit a friend or meeting up for a weekend get-together. You knew she was going to either take you for a run or talk about running. In addition to running every day, she ran a lot of races in support of any number of charities and causes. In fact, looking back at the races she documented, she ran over 40 during the last year alone. One weekend, she ran a 5K Saturday morning, one Sunday morning, and then another on Sunday afternoon. She was dedicated. I know many of us have stories about running with Heather, and I would like to share a few of mine and how I saw her through this passion. Heather was kind. Earlier this year, Heather ran the Tobacco Road Marathon. Shortly after crossing yet another finish line after 26.2 miles, Heather spotted a familiar face and went up to him. "Are you the race director?" she asked out of breath. Being unsure if someone was going to complain about an aspect of the race, he hesitantly said that he was. "Well," she began, "I want to tell you that you changed my life. Several years ago, I was at a local race, and you were there signing people up for this marathon. I didn't think I could ever run that far, but you said I could, and so I signed up. I've run this marathon every year since." The race director looked at her and smiled, and then said, "Do you mind if I bring my wife over so you can say that again?" Heather gladly obliged. Heather lifted up both friends and strangers. Heather often jumped at the chance to accompany friends who were going to run a race, even if she wasn't running herself. To prepare for such occasions, Heather was known to have a cheer bag that contained pom-poms, a cowbell, and a homemade sign with her friend's name written on it. She had a knack of knowing where her friends would be on a race course, and just when exhaustion was setting in, Heather would be there, pom-poms in the air, a cowbell ringing, and your name being screamed. After Heather would finish a race, she would stay at the finish line to cheer others on as they completed their run. If someone unknowingly paced her through a difficult stretch, she would find them after the race, strike up a conversation, thank them, and ask them about their running routine, from what shoes they wore to what they ate the night before the race. She was genuinely interested in others. Heather was invested in her friends, and she had a way of always making you feel important. When I decided to run the Umstead Trail Marathon with some friends from out of town, Heather organized our pre-race dinner, which included sweets from one of her favorite dessert spots, and picked us up bright and early to drive us to the park. She cheered us on with her pom-poms and homemade signs that she crafted even for the friends she just made. My sign read, "Go David, remember, pain is just the French word for bread, a nod to our shared love of pastries." Heather was there hours later to congratulate us when we finished. When my relay team ran our annual 200 miles over 30 hours in western North Carolina, Heather made the trip as well, intent on celebrating with us at the finish line. A highlight of the run was a baked potato bar that we would pass around 2 a.m. at a fire station in the middle of nowhere. Just as I finished my run, smelling the baked potatoes that awaited, I saw Heather waiting for me. She had left her hotel in the middle of the night, tracked where I would be finishing my run, and brought fancy butter and condiments for my team's baked potatoes. Heather completed her family medicine residency in Richmond, Virginia. So when I told her that I had signed up to run the Richmond Marathon in November, she was excited. She booked a hotel and told me that if my hotel room was too loud the night before the race, that she would switch rooms with me so I could get a good night's sleep, intent on sacrificing her own. She was always willing to make sacrifices for others. We had made plans to go to Richmond together one week ago today, so I could do a training run. The plan was for me to run, and she would meet me along the route with her cheer bag to offer support. After my run, Heather promised to take us to one of her favorite places from her residency days for sweet and savory hand pies. I know that her energy and enthusiasm was going to make it a perfect day, like it always did. Heather was scheduled to run the Chicago Marathon, which is being held today. I know she would have run a great race, but more importantly, I know she would have continued to lift up others as she cheered on those running around her, giving out high fives to spectators lining the streets. Please think of her smiling and running as she planned her next running adventures with her friends and family. As a way to celebrate Heather and her passion for running, I would like to invite you to run the City of Oaks 5K alongside her sister, brother, and so many of her friends. The 5K, which is going to be held on Sunday, November 5th, was also the day Heather was going to run the New York City Marathon. I would now like to invite others to share their memories of Heather.
Hey there. I'm Amy Shipley. I'm one of her friends from medical school and the rest of life. Dr. Michaela, who is one of our teachers at medical school, sent me a letter, and he wanted me to share a part of this with you all. The full letter is in the back. It's pretty long, so you can take a look if you'd like to read it later. His name was Dr. Michaela. So I'm just going to read an excerpt from his letter. I first met Heather when she was taking biochemistry during her M1 year at the Brody School of Medicine. The classroom was terraced, and Heather sat in the top row to my left. It was a team talk course, and I taught the second section on lipid metabolism. We worked from the slides, and as a pointer, I used a 6-foot dowel rod that was about half an inch thick. It was convenient. I didn't have to stand in front of the slides, and I could point to the information that was important. Frequently after a lecture, students would approach me with questions, and I would try to get them through before the anatomy course had to start. One morning, the questions went on too long, and the anatomy faculty were coming in, and I had to scramble to get out. In a rush, I forgot my dowel rod pointer. An hour later, I received an email from Heather. It indicated that she had retrieved my pointer and was holding it for ransom. If I didn't pay up, she would saw it into short pieces. The ransom request was for an A in biochemistry. That's so Heather. Dr. Michaela and Heather remained friends for years, even after his retirement, and he moved to Colorado. And many of you might not know that he actually was in a terrible bike accident and required to be in the hospital for 6 weeks. And after he recovered and was able to ride the bike again, they created a fundraiser for the hospital that took great care of him. Heather went out there last year to ride that bike race with him, and they got lost. They blew out their tires. They saw some sheep. Dr. Michaela's wife had to come and find them and pick them up, but to hear her tell it, it was the best race. It was a lot of fun. She was scheduled to go out next week on the 14th and ride that race again with Dr. Michaela and his team. This year, that race will be dedicated to Heather. So thank you for sending that, Dr. Michaela. I'm sure you're listening in. I first met Heather about 16 years ago when I was doing my prereqs for medical school. I had to take biochemistry, and she was teaching the summer class. After the first exam, I told her her tests were impossible, and she told me I should study harder. I remember going home and telling my husband, this girl's going to keep me from medical school because these tests are too hard. But it turned out okay because Heather, being Heather, tutored me for free, and I made it through and must have done okay because I got into medical school. Fast forward a year or so later, and on the first day of medical school, on the back row of the M1 classroom, but who was sitting next to me but that biochemistry teacher, Heather. So began our medical school journey and our friendship, because we were not friends when she was giving me those hard tests. Heather was a joy. She was joyful in life. She was joyful in her relationships, and she would brighten the room with her smile. You all know that smile. You were just happier being around her. You just wanted to be near her. She was also the most intentional person I've ever met. She was intentional with each person that she had relationships with. She made a special effort to do whatever it was that you needed at that moment in life. You just knew she loved you and wished you were that good of a friend. No matter the time or activity, she would just do it to be with you, to spend time with you. Even if it meant meeting me like super early for coffee on her day off before I started my work day, or driving from her Cary office to get to our Wake Forest office so we could have Taco Tuesdays. She even found the journal club that I hosted interesting, which, let's face it probably wasn't. I think she would want us to carry on her intention. So please be intentional with your people. Tell them you love them, hug them. For my people that are here that don't really even like hugs, you know I'm gonna hug you and I'm gonna tell you I love you. Spend time with them, take their picture, make time. I'm gonna be more like Heather Anderson. I think we all should be a little more like Heather. If there's anybody else that would like to speak, please come up.
Anyone at all? I can bring the microphone to you. Probably should open with that.
Well, I can't believe I'm standing here today. So many things that I thought were certain in the world that could be relied upon. None of that makes any sense anymore. Heather made hard work look effortless, whether it was with friends or school or work. She always wanted everyone to fight for their happiness, really fight for it. And I met her in 96 in a coffee shop in Fayetteville, one of the few bright points of Fayetteville when you went to high school there. Few bright points. And we continued being friends through college, after college, all the seasons of my life. Heather was the season. Heather, I'll never emotionally recover from this, but I'm gonna treasure every moment we ever spent together, all the friends that I've made because of her. the way I look at life. And what she did for so many people is she just made people believe that they could have more, that life could be more. And now that she's gone, I want to have more. I want to have those relationships with more people in my life. I want to feel that way about more people. I want more people to feel that way about me. So thank you, Heather. I love you. And I'm so thankful that you've been in my life.
The floor remains open.
Hey, I met Heather my freshman year of college. We have so many memories. I'm really bad at this, sorry. She and I were friends through different states and nursing school, medical school, all of that. And my kids met her once or twice when they were really, really little, and my son is 18 now. And when I told him I was coming here today, he said, "Oh man, Heather, I remember," he was like 5. "I remember her coming to our house, and I don't remember what she brought me, but she made me feel so good and so happy, and she brought me candy or something like that." So to have that much impact on such a young person and her whole family. Love you, Heather, and I love your family.
Hello. My name is Michael Hoos. I met Heather in college, and I actually tried to date her. She stood me up on a date. But still loved her. And, we were friends, and one of my favorite memories of her was we drove down to see my friend Dempsey. And he went to the University of Florida in Gainesville. And it was just her and I driving down, and I remember I was sharing her some of my schoolwork. She's a prolific reader, if anyone knows that. And she kept making fun of the fact that the books that I was assigned in business school were pathetic and weren't written well. And she was right. She taught me what the word alliteration means. And so we got down there. One of the things that was so touching to me is that she's like, "Look, Michael, all I want is just to go to a theme park, and we can do anything else. I just want one thing." And that's one of the things that hurts so much in life, is that she gave so much and asked for so little back. And then some of the friends know what I'll probably be talking about. On our way back, I had the bright idea that, see, I'm from Texas, and there's a fast food chain called Whataburger, and you don't have them up here in North Carolina. So we went down to Florida, and on the way back, I was like, you know what? Every single Whataburger we see, I'm gonna stop and get a double cheeseburger. And so every single time we stopped, that was the goal. And that quickly turned into every single gas station bathroom we see, we stopped, unfortunately. She never did do another road trip with me again, but I'm so sorry this happened to you. And life's not fair, but I like what someone else said, I'm gonna live a better life now because of her. Every night I would work out, I'd send her my text, of my picture of working out, and she would encourage me the next day. She would go out of her way for that. She would see me meet my kids, my friends, and we'd have lunch. And I'm just so glad that in the last 4 years, when she moved back to Raleigh, I got to reconnect. I love you, Heather. I love all you.
I know Heather through Tara, and she is very kind. When she bought her dream house, she kindly gave us the backyard for free. And I remember we worked together in assembling the playset, and now it is a wonderful playset in my backyard, which my kids treasure every single day. While we were in her house, there was a night when we had ice cream cake, and we played exploding kittens together. And this is a fun memory that my son, Tommy, who was 8 years old at that time, and me will treasure forever. Whenever we play exploding kittens, we will remember you, Heather.
I can sit here all day.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jackie Siebens. Heather's been in my life for more than 2 decades now, and she's part of our family. And she loved the beach. And I wanted somebody to come up here and talk about her love of the ocean and the love the beach apparently had for her. We went a million times in college with many of the folks here in this room. But one particular time stands out as very special. My family got a beach house for a week, and Heather joined us. And we were all sitting on the beach after a long day later in the afternoon, and we noticed there was a seabird nearby. And maybe it was, slightly injured or something, but it was just kind of standing there, and it ended up actually crawling over to Heather and sat in Heather's lap for, I want to say, at least an hour. We have pictures of it. It's just the most Heather moment to me. I don't know anybody else on planet Earth that would have a seabird come over to just hang out with you for a little while. I mean, so many folks have mentioned how you just wanted to be around her, how she made you feel wonderful. And that's so true. And I think that reached beyond the bounds of humanity. And I truly believe in my heart that wherever she is now, she's so happy to see all of us here, thinking about her and knowing how much she meant to all of us. And I'll cherish that one memory of millions for the rest of my life. And I don't know that I'll ever really believe that she's gone. But every time I go to the ocean for the rest of my life, I'll always think of Heather.
Anyone else? All right. So moving on, we have scripture readings. First, Tanya Anderson Fleming.
Ecclesiastes 2:5-6. I made myself gardens and orchards, and I planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made myself water pools for which to water the growing trees of the grove. And then Proverbs 3:27. Do not withhold good from those whom it's due, when it is in the power of your hands to do so. I think both of these describe Heather very beautifully. Thank you.
Now we have a moment of silence.
This is verses in the spirit of Heather. Do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize.
And now, Heather's sister Tara has some closing remarks to give.
Hello, I am Tara Kong Anderson. I'm Heather's sister. Thank you all for coming here today to honor my sister. How did Heather come to us? I was in preschool. I came home with a piece of paper. It had 4 blank drawings on it, asking, what do you want to do when you grow up? 1 box, I drew a singer. 2nd box, a teacher. 3rd box, a race car driver. And 4th box, if you're in the military, you will know this, I wanted to be a commissary cart pusher. They put you on the cart, and they take you to the car, and you get a tip. That moment, my mother knew I was not going to be a doctor. She told my father, it's time for another one. I always ask people, how did you get your name? Or why did you give your child your name? Heather got her name as my mother loved the sound of it, and it was easy to remember. My father liked it as it was a flower, which was appropriate for Heather, as she loved gardening. Heather, she always knew she wanted to be a doctor since she was a child. She was in the top of her class. During high school, they had a special program where they took students who were interested in being doctors to the hospital. All her peers were throwing up, and Heather goes, I'm good. When she got into med school, she snuck in to see the cadavers. She wanted to make sure this was the right path and she could do it. She goes in and she goes, yep, I'm good. We were always proud of Heather. I will never forget, Cornell University invited her to a special school program. And for some reason, I was home, and I was so excited. I took that letter and found her in high school. I wanted to see her joy and celebrate. Where did Heather first learn medicine? Dr. Mommy. Growing up, we always heard head-achi, stomach-achi. We always thought it was Korean, the words. You all know English is a hard language. My mother read it that way. So when we discovered that my mom was saying head-achi and stomach-achi for headache and stomach ache, we loved it so much, we kept it always. Cures for things. If you had a head-achi, go vacuum. We had a very clean house. Heather would run in with a bee sting. My mom would plop her on the table, got the Korean bean paste, slapped it right on the sting. Heather didn't stop crying from the procedure. It was from the being shocked and the bad smell. But it did work. She forgot about it, and the smell, but she smelled like beans for the rest of the day. Last, my mother always told us, if it's far away from the liver, you will be okay. If we had a bruise, cut, broken finger, as long as it was away from the liver, we are okay. Heather would cut herself, put it next to her liver, and go, Mommy, Mommy, it's close to my liver. And my mom's like, no, 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 no. She put a Band-Aid on it, stuck it in the air, and said, "See, everything's okay." I hope all you medical professions that's here today learned something new. With that said, you're your own worst patients. Please don't let what happened to my beloved sister happen to you. Take care of yourself, as we all need you, and we need each other. Thank you for all the flowers and donations in honoring my sister with a park bench. Please, if you didn't, take a race bib. Keep her memories going. Wear it while walking, hiking, running. Send me a note and a picture, and we can keep that memory going on. Like Dave said, on November 5th, we are running in her honor at the Raleigh City of Oaks. She was supposed to be at the memorial race for New York City. It was one of her most memorial races. So if any of you would like, please join us. All, please join us in a reception for Heather's favorite food. Just allow friends all here to gather together and talk and continue to have happy memories of my sister. Thank you, everybody.
I just want to say thank you on behalf of Renaissance Funeral Home. It was an honor to be there for you. And at this time, if we're finished, at this time I'd like to have the family step over to the reception area so they can take a few breaths. And then we will dismiss from the rear, and you're welcome to come next door and share some refreshments and pizza with them.